Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Chasing the Art of Creativity. I'm your host, your cheerleader and occasional bad joke teller, Luca, where we celebrate people's careers, what they're passionate about, and what they're going to do to change the world. And speaking of changing the world today, another distinguished guest. I always sort of pride myself that I find people out there who are just incredibly unique, and those people actually tend to reach out to me, which I am so grateful for. And today, the amazing, the fantastic, the energetic and magnetic Raul Xavier Garcia. Thank you so much for coming on today. How have you been?
I've been really well. How have you?
It's pretty good. Yeah, no, I've been just been working a lot and just making sure that the podcast runs smoothly, and just being able to sort of create now has become such an important part of my life. Like, I always used to sort of think, like, I used to be so down when it came to like just getting out there and trying and actually like starting it. I always say like starting things is the hardest part. I'm not sure if you agree. Like, it's always like, I like to really put it this way. Do you know Miley? You know Miley Cyrus?
Yeah.
Do you know her song "The Climb"?
No.
No, it's classic. It came out like 14, 15 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
It's iconic because essentially like that's what it is. Like, it's about your career and you know how far you can go based on your potential of how much you believe in it.
No, absolutely.
So,
yeah. That
yeah.
resonates already, and I haven't even heard it. So.
Yeah, you know it. You know it exactly. So how have you been recently? What has 2025 been like for you?
So far, pretty good. I think in like the month that we've had of this year already, I think that I've already kind of felt this sort of calling and this urge to really put myself out there more. So,
yes,
for example, reaching out to do new things like this, or trying to fall down this rabbit hole that everybody else talks about in terms of reaching out to like brands to see if we can sort of do content or whatever. So I've just really felt the urge to just do that, especially since becoming freelance again. So, just being like, well, you know what, I'm going to continue. I'm going to see what I can get, and see what I can achieve this year. And if we start early in the beginning of the year, we can that gives us so much more room for the rest of the year to see what else we can do. And yeah,
absolutely, that's the best possible answer, because that's what it's all about. It's about working off the building blocks from the years prior. It's about coming up with different ideas and ways that you can progress, like especially with you and your online portfolio and your digital image. It is very daunting, but that sort of mentality is exactly how you want to be doing it, because you're now a freelancer. You've got freedom. There is like, free is in the word. Like, you have the freedom to go out there and pursue whatever you want. I've been freelancing for 6-7 years.
Wow.
So, and eventually, I guess, coming to a point in my life where I wasn't exactly making significant waves in the industry that I was sort of going for, like the acting and stuff like that, which led me to start this podcast. And it led me to these incredible people, and especially people like you, because you're not originally from Sydney, are you? No. So tell me about, we're going to go back to your upbringing.
Okay.
Adelaide boy. Whereabouts in Adelaide?
I was actually having this conversation with my stage manager yesterday, because she was from Adelaide too, and she asked me the same question too. I'm not really sure how to put it. I want to say, like, I mean, I was born in like Elizabeth Vale, so sort of north, I think. But then I grew up, you kind of move from different suburbs and different places, but the majority of my upbringing was 20 minutes away from the city. So,
nice
I guess
city.
I want to say pretty central, suburban, living next door to my grandma. So, that's
love
been pretty
that.
special too.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. So
did you always go across the road, get a bit of food?
Absolutely. Like passing
so
sugar
good.
over the fence. That's,
you just toss shit over. Yeah.
When you get tired of it, what's happening at home, you just sort of go over. Hey.
So, background wise, where's your heritage?
So dad born in Madrid, Spain.
Oh my God.
Yeah, pretty cool. And then my mum was born in Adelaide as well, but her dad was also born in Spain.
Okay.
And then her mum was born in Uruguay. So growing up, I'm always I'm trying to get better and work on my Spanish. It's improved a lot more. I think the biggest improvement came from after I moved to Sydney.
Yeah.
I kind of stepped my foot down and I said I really want to do it. But growing up, I always kind of learned, was hearing it through music and through being really close to my grandma as well, and she was really involved in the community and stuff. It was almost kind of like nepotism. It was like everybody, like almost everybody knew my grandma, like because she was in the church choir, the Spanish church choir. She did the radio shows. She was president of the Spanish club, and so we'd have all these people say, "Oh, I knew you when you were this big," and everything else, and we're like, okay. So growing up, it was always there. The language was always there, but I just never picked up on speaking it much. But so that's why I kind of I have a better understanding than what I can speaking it. But again, I have improved in the last year that I've been here. So pat on the back for me, and I just want to learn more. So.
Exactly, especially if you're sort of trying to blend in with the Latin American and Spanish communities within Sydney. There's a lot. I know a fair few people that come from so many different backgrounds around South America and Spain as well. And I've tried to speak a little bit of Spanish. I think the one thing I wanted to learn this year was I'm Greek, Greek and Danish background as well. So two completely different parts. I don't think I look very Scandinavian. I haven't got the blue eyes and the blonde hair. I used to have the blonde hair.
Okay. Did it just get darker?
Just got dark. I think the Greek genes just invaded. They took over. Yeah. I'd love to learn Greek because it was something I was unable to do when my Yaya and Papa were alive. I never actually got the chance to have, long and lengthy conversations with them. It was more just very choppy. It was very, there was a bit of a language barrier because their English wasn't too good, and that makes sense because they'd lived in Greece for so long. So if there's one thing I'd love to do, it's once again immerse myself in Greek culture and learn a language, because learning a language is just a stepping stone to being just I think a more interesting person.
It's really cool, and I think it's really handy to have, and I think also it helps you connect to that side of you, because I feel like there's so much there can be, and I've heard that this kind of happens more on the internet than it does in real life. So I guess that goes to show the kind of society that we live in at the moment. But I feel like there's a lot of discourse, especially from what I've seen and heard from like this. Latin American Spanish community. It's like, you're not this enough because you didn't grow up there. You're not that enough because you don't speak it. And so, if there's one thing that I can do is while I've been grateful and privileged to, grow up with the culture, I can further sort of push for it by at least learning the language. And then when I get enough money, I can travel and sort of, really see what it's like firsthand. But I think, you just sort of do it to really connect to that part of you, because I think that, maybe as kids, you don't think about it as much, I don't think. And, obviously being in Australia, you sort of learn how it's like and you live a different life here. But when you get a little bit older and you kind of make that conscious decision, it's like, wait, I'm sure Greek is a beautiful culture. Danish is a beautiful culture. So is Uruguayan and Spanish, very beautiful cultures. And so when you become a little bit more aware of it and you realize that's what I have, that's where I come from, that's where my family comes from. It's like, the least you can do is just connect to that a little bit more by learning the language and really immersing yourself in it. Yeah.
It means so much to you, and it means so much to your family as well. Because I feel like, with that rich heritage and the rich culture, like it gives you a bit of perspective. Because, we live in Australia, a very diverse, multicultural nation. There's so many different nationalities and heritages and cultures out there that all blend together in a really eloquent way. So it's so good that, you still have those roots and you're still proud to be that type of person, and proud to stand by your family and what they've done and be interested in what they're doing. But yes, moving on. So moving from Adelaide to Sydney. How old were you when you moved to Sydney?
19.
19.
Yeah.
Wow.
I moved by myself. So.
And when you moved to Sydney, what was the main difference? I guess there are a lot of differences between moving between a very sort of, won't say Adelaide is a bit sort of less intense than Sydney, but Sydney's a very competitive place to be. It's scary because Sydney's, it's the place everyone thinks of whenever someone's coming overseas. They go to Sydney. Sydney's the way to go. Sydney's a very large place. Yeah. It stretches far and wide.
Absolutely.
And it is incredibly daunting, especially for someone from Adelaide. So what was like the hardest thing that you had to assimilate to, or you had to adapt to when you moved to Sydney?
I think the people, I think as much as like Sydney's really big and it can offer so much opportunity, the people sometimes like they're just, some of them can come across as really abrasive, and I was like, oh, okay, like that's, yeah. So I think that was one of and then I guess also because Sydney is so big and people, have been born and raised here and they sort of, place themselves somewhere with groups of people, with whatever. So I also find that like kind of meeting people can be sort of a hard thing too. And
Yeah.
I mean, not only just me, like I know there are other people that I know of that, have lived here for a bit and whatever, and sort of understand that that thing as well. So I think that was one of the biggest things, trying to find your place. And I mean, obviously, still trying to find it, trying to mix with the right kind of people. And so I think that was probably one of the biggest things to...
Did you find it hard to make friends when you moved over? Because I'm guessing you came after you finished high school as well. So
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things too. And I don't know, I guess like when I moved here, like I kind of had this, I guess this pre-notion that, because obviously you kind of go through high school and, you have these friends that you kind of make hopefully for life. I know that I've been really lucky to have a group of friends that, we still are close, we still keep in touch. It's almost like nothing, go down, everything's all the same, which is great to have that familiarity. But obviously I'm not in Adelaide anymore, and I don't travel every 2 weeks down there. So, it's nice to have a bit of a social life up here. But I think that's one of the things, is just trying to sort of find those people and try to mix well and see who you kind of click with. And I mean, I've been able to find that through work that I do, or, sort of creative stuff that comes up. I've been able to make a few, connections and stuff. So that's been good too. But
the people you meet through these sort of creative ideas, because essentially when you're moving away into a completely new space, what you're doing is you're tossing up between completely throwing away your fundamental individuality to assimilate with others, compared to the whole, do I stay true to who I am and just, try and assimilate naturally and just find those people? Because it's easy to almost throw yourself into like a group, a social group, and change around them, than to be sort of the focus of that group, than to sort of join them naturally, because everyone does that. And especially through high school, like people out there that probably knew me in high school, I was definitely not a social person. And that's the funny thing. I was never a talker, which is incredibly ironic.
Look at where you are now.
Look where I am now. Yeah, I know. And it's crazy, because when I left high school and I started trying to be a bit more of an individual and started developing a personality, and tried to improve my attitude towards life and the people I connect with, it just makes you so much more, it gives you confidence, but it also gives you a bit more perspective on the lives of other people's around you. So I completely agree with you when you say, it's a big place, and it's a big place to sort of merge with others and to sort of just use those creative ideas and use your individuality to go out and sort of assimilate to a crowd and sort of make new friends, people that are like-minded. But it's always difficult, especially when you're new to a place, you don't know how everything works. So, but look at you now. So you moved to Sydney and started getting into stage work, I believe.
Yeah. So I wanted to move here to study. At NIDA, more specifically, because I wanted to do acting. Acting had always been my passion and had always sort of been the thing that I wanted to pursue. And obviously, the bigger city, more opportunity. But then when I moved here, I realized, hang on, well, Sydney is an expensive city as it is. And then to top it all off, paying private tuition because you don't get hexed on it. I'm like, I have to pick my struggles. Let's just, know. Yeah. And so then I thought, well, you know what? Let's just see, like, I said to myself, let's just take a year. Like, let's just have a year where I see what happens in Sydney, see what people I meet, the networks, the work, the projects that I can get and stuff. And then after a year, I was like, you know what? I'm pretty happy. And, I'm not really looking into studying at the moment. I mean, maybe that's something that I wouldn't be opposed to if I, if situations work a little bit better in my favor. But again, looking back, like it's been pretty good. So yeah, I started doing some stage stuff and then trying to sort of, get some cool like extras work just to sort of, have that experience on set and just, doing one thing is different to another and, seeing what kind of experiences
Yeah.
they both are. But doing stage is good fun as well. So
Yeah. So you started your career on stage as Angel with the theatre company, the Lot Theatre's Rent in 2022. Was that your first sort of big stage production?
Yes, it was. Super fun. Straight out of high school. So yeah. So
Wow, yeah. Was it just like, and your cohort, the people you worked with, was it an intimidating environment or were people very welcoming? And
It was actually lucky because it was very much like that as well. Even doing the audition, it was very like, very just calm, chill, whatever. And I guess it was really lucky that it was like that because, had it been much pressure, had it been much daunting, I would have been maybe a little too scared to do it, especially because it was my first thing. And so, it was good to just sort of have that really warm welcome and just the space to just play with it and meet these people and see what, how you all work.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can't fit a square into a circle unless you trim some of the edges and accommodate the square. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
no, of course.
The role of Angel. So Rent, what was Rent about? Like, what was the production revolved around? What were the ideas and themes?
So essentially Rent is just about these artists in Alphabet City who are they're struggling artists, they're trying to, there's like the AIDS epidemic and, coming from struggle, trying to sort of live with that while also trying to get by essentially. And they get by through, music and song and family and friends and essentially making a family out of those friends because, it's the people that you meet that you can really bond with. And that's kind of how the story kind of evolves.
It's a beautiful concept, that one. Yeah. So playing this character, seeing as it is stage and it is very sort of cutthroat, it's very sort of, you have to be omnipresent. There's no really any second takes when you're actually performing it. Was that something that you grew to enjoy, or was it always still just a little bit intimidating being up there on stage in front of a lot of people?
So I think it's always been funny because doing like the audition, auditions are scary. Auditions are intimidating, there's a lot of pressure. You're in front of these people that you've never met before. And, you have to give it your all to show and prove to yourself and to other people that you have what it takes to, do what you're auditioning for, to take the part that you're going for. But then when it comes to rehearsals, I kind of find that that's the more intimidating thing because essentially like the way that I see and the way that my process is sort of in this sort of stuff, and look, it's a work in progress. We'll see how it goes. But I guess for me, like doing rehearsals, like I'm kind of still me and not being used to being quite a timid person naturally as well. Yeah. Doing all this stuff in front of these people can be kind of daunting still. But then I don't know what it is. It's tech week. It's show week. It's bump in. It's, run throughs with,
a lot of buzzwords.
Costume
a lot of
stuff. And then you do it and it's like, I'm not me all of a sudden. I kind of, the costumes and the lighting and the stage and the audience essentially mask me and separate Raul to the character. And so I find that when I'm doing all that, put me in costume, put me in makeup and lights and stage and I'm good to go. And that's sort of my sort of process. And it's funny, but yeah.
And it's funny, everyone does go through a different process. Everyone goes to their own unique individual process. When I was doing stage, so I started stage when I was very young. And I think everyone always asks you, like, what's the hardest part about it? And I think the hardest part is just preparation of that character. Like, you're right in saying the separation between who you are and what the character is. And that's something a lot of people do experience through screen as well. It's two completely different environments. I always loved stage because I thought I could flow as naturally and as like bombastic as possible because I'm a very energetic person. I loved being out there and just getting crazy. I was never really into like the whole dramatic stuff. I was just like throw me 20 feet in the air. I'll be like Cirque du Soleil out there. I loved it. I loved like the effervescence of the crowd and my co-stars as well. And it's such an enriching experience and it's something that I would encourage people that are if they're really interested or they're curious about getting into that sort of line of work, do it because it's so rewarding.
It is.
So 2023. So 2022, you had the big breakthrough on stage, and then 2023, you started putting your trade through screen acting this time and debuted in Alice Mayo McKay's Satanic Panic.
It's a play on words, yes.
I love that. Wow. So what was
Really creative.
what was that about, and what was the difference there between like the stage work and then the screen work?
So it was pretty good. I was pretty lucky because she had seen Rent. And then she'd reached out to me and said that, you know, she had this kind of minor character for her movie and she was looking for somebody, and she really enjoyed my performance and offered me to look at the script and sort of have a play with that. It was such a good experience. It was such a good process. It was so fun. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Like, this is, you know, this is crazy. Good. Yes, this is what I've been looking for. So I think the difference in the thing is that I think, as you said, like there's no sort of second takes when it's on stage. And so, I mean, I guess the way that you kind of approach it can be a little bit different because, you know, when you're on stage, you're sort of, you're always sort of giving it everything
you're
all the
emotionally
time.
vulnerable. You're completely naked out there.
Yeah. And, you know, you're always on the go when you're doing it. But then when you're doing sort of film, I guess it's just a little bit different, but the process is still the same. You sort of, essentially, like for me, like you sort of go through journeys with, and I'm sure everybody says that, most people, if anything, you know, you go through journeys with the character that you're playing. Obviously, the way that you interpret it is different. And obviously, for example, when you're on stage, while I'm, you know, there's this one song in Rent where I do this little cutie flirty bit in the beginning, and then the way that we workshopped it was that I'm just sort of in the corner of the stage because it's somebody else's song. It's my stage partner's song. And so the process is that I still have to stand there and I still have to engage, and I'm in my head about like the story, like who am I? What am I doing here? I have to, you know what I mean? I can't just stand there and be like, okay, we'll just wait for the song to be over.
Yeah, I mean, there's
absolutely not.
There's no wiggle room to think. You can't think about it as it's happening because you're out there. Like everyone always goes like, what are you so immersed in? Like, how do you react? It's like, well, it's all just training, and you're not yourself out there. You're just in the moment. You're so immersed by the scene, and you know that you can't really control it. Like you're not yourself.
Engaged.
You have to stay engaged.
And so that's sort of that. But then when you're doing sort of screen, you know, I have my own sort of process and my own story with my character. I mean, big or small. I mean, you know, but then on set, it's like you kind of only have that story while you're recording. Because then once they call cut and you reset, let me take the wig off and let me wipe my sweat and put it back on, and then we, you know, so you kind of have that little bit of room to just sort of stop and start. So, but being able to experience both very, like in a very short time frame within each other, very good fun, and such a great experience. And
I can imagine.
Yeah, I'd love to do another one, Alice. So hit me up.
Well, there you go.
You know,
we've got a formal request. If you need any background extras, you know, I'm a little old podcast struggler out here looking for work. So anyway, moving on to other productions that you've been a part of. The Correspondent and Emotion is Dead. Now, these two stories seem really intriguing. What was your experience like working on these projects? And sort of what was there any particular moment that stood out when you were acting in these or when you were a part of the production?
So again, the process is a little bit different because for these projects, I was doing extras for the first time. So that was a completely different thing. Again, to stay engaged with it, I try to still kind of create a little character for myself. You know, little does everybody else know that this character, this extra that I'm playing, secretly has a backstory, and he's gonna have like his own spin-off movie. That's in the works. That's incredible. What I mean? Like just to sort of keep myself engaged, because you know, obviously as an extra, you know, you don't want to downplay on the experience, but you know, you got to still kind of keep that momentum going too.
You know what I say? There's no small characters. There's only small actors, and you're only as small as you imagine yourself. So if you walk onto set and you cave into your little shell and you're not out there engaging with the character, regardless of who the character is, what's the point of being out there? Absolutely. Embrace it, no matter what the position is. And no one should ever feel like they are less than a production. I always say like you're never either too big to sweep the sheds, you're never too little to be a rock star. Always go out there and give 100% to what you're doing, because it will be noticed. It will stand out to others that have the same ideas and have that influence. So that it's incredible that you are able to really put things into perspective and give 100% for those. Especially because a lot of people out there, when it comes to extra work, I feel like they don't see themselves as a proper actor or performer. They think they're just in there to make numbers.
Yeah.
And regardless of what your ideas of what the fundamentals are of extra work, I still have so much fun doing it. I don't know about you. I love it.
Yeah.
It's awesome because, one, you're networking with a lot of people. You are acting and you're getting paid to do so. Yeah. Especially if you're a part of something big, like if you're a part of Furiosa or, Anyone But You. I know a few people that were background extras in that. One of the guys was like 20 meters away from Sydney Sweeney.
Oh my God.
What an
That's
experience.
a story to tell, isn't it?
It's a big story to tell. I got to get him on there. So you know who you are.
But I think, the processes on those two films, I think one of the biggest things that stood out for me in terms of The Correspondent was that it's based on a true story. And so I think, again, like...
What was the story behind that one?
So I think it only happened either just over a decade ago or less than a decade ago. It's been very recent.
Yeah.
It's about that Australian news reporter who got detained in Egypt.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I've heard of that one, yes.
And so that's sort of what the story is all about. And so I guess that was a real big... standout for me because, again, like, no matter the size of the part that I was playing, whatever, just to be able to say that I was in a film based on a true story, I think that's a pretty cool thing to do.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
It's awesome.
To be able to play, like, to be able to take part and be part of, in such a big or small way to tell that story, I think is such a cool accomplishment.
It's awesome, yeah.
So that was for The Correspondent.
Fantastic.
And then Emotion is Dead, I think it was one of those that... the funny thing is that I didn't really know much about the story of the chorus of Emotion is Dead until after I had been invited to the premiere for it and saw it with my sister. And after watching it, I was like, wow, this was a really because when I was doing the scene for it, we were just sort of it took place in like this sort of club, and so essentially we were just in a nightclub, and then a fight breaks out and everything else. But after watching the entire thing, I was like, wow. And then I think what I took away from that was, because it's about like a young guy whose father passes, and it's about the sort of the story that he tells of dealing with that, and then kind of having this sort of a strange relationship with his mother, because it's like, I guess grief can really affect people and relationships in so many different ways. And obviously him being a teenager, you kind of relate to that in any way that you can. You kind of take from it whatever resonates with you.
Yeah.
And then to top it all off, the South Australian car company Holden, it was, so just these little nods to South Australia. It was like a love letter to South Australia. And I think that was the big standout.
Need
for
more
me
of
in that
those.
one. We do.
I didn't even know Holden was from South Australia.
There you go.
That's
See?
incredible. Because there's only like 3 things I know about South Australia. There's the Garn, there's Adelaide Oval, and there's churches.
Yeah. So
if
it's yeah.
Like that. I think more people need to visit South Australia.
Absolutely. Yes.
There's the wine as well.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Are you a wine person?
No, I'm not, unfortunately.
Fair enough.
Maybe when I get a little bit older, but for now, no. No.
I haven't got the acquired taste for wine. It's too bitter. Like everyone always says, oh, try this like Tempranillo. It's got this really nice cherry oaky aftertaste. I'm like, okay, it's I understand. There's a lot of complexity going on here. It's just a little too complex for my palate. So.
I think one of the misconceptions that I had was that when you drink wine, you sort of have it like a soda or a water, and you just sort of drink it. But you don't. You have a bite of the steak, you have a sip of the wine, and you put it down. So I'm like, well, I would like to have something to drink with my dinner. And if it's not going to be chugging down that bitter wine, I'm going to need something else.
I'd rather, honestly, have you... I'm going to get a lot of flack for this. There's going to be a lot of people out there that are severely judging me right now. If anyone's out there, has anyone tried wine and Powerade together? It's incredible. It completely neutralizes the taste. Yeah, I know.
Right,
I know. So. I feel the eyes. There's daggers in my heart right now. But you know what? Give it a try. You never know. But I do agree with you. When I'm eating something, I need to be sipping on something that I'm enjoying. There's something that I can really like. And look, I can't say much of an alcohol man, but I don't mind like a gin and tonic. One, because it makes me feel incredibly sophisticated.
That's exactly me as well. I say if there's anything that I have to go to, if I'm feeling a little bit, whatever, a gin and tonic. Yes, that I can do. But wine and like the Prosecco's and whatever,
It's
like
reliable.
I can't do it. But
Yeah.
gin and tonic, yes. And
It's
I'm
the
so glad.
Toyota Yaris of alcohol.
If there's one thing that I agree with you, it's
Reliant.
that.
I like
G&T.
that, yeah.
Good
Wow.
G&T.
Moving on anyway from alcohol and wine. Great little tangent there. That's what we try and do. We try and just get into little tangents because that's what a podcast is all about. Now, you've done you are part of the trifecta: stage, acting, and then, of course, your most recent ventures, modeling.
Yay.
How did that start for you? Were you initially noticed by someone, or did you apply for a modeling agency?
So it kind of started out when I moved to Sydney. I tried to I think one of the important things, if there's anything that I can any advice, not that I've got, a great career in it, but, I think just for me, like the way that it worked for me was even in Adelaide, like it's small, there isn't a lot of opportunity, which is why I moved here in the first place. But I think I still tried to immerse myself in whichever way that I could. There was Adelaide Fashion Weekend, which is obviously like a very, lower scale fashion week or whatever. And so I'd, buy tickets to front row seats to those shows and try to get myself immersed. I mean, networking is so good. Yes, it is. And, I've been able to meet, good people behind really great. There's a kind of a group, Cocktail Revolution, that kind of specializes in platforming sustainable fashion and stuff like that. And so, they liked my outfit. We reached out, we started talking, we got connected. And so that was really good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
very community driven.
Absolutely. And it's all worth it. And I think, just immersing yourself in whatever it is that you want to get into is the first step. And so, after I realized that there isn't really much after, in regards to acting or modeling, I moved to Sydney. And then I just sort of put myself out there. I didn't have a portfolio. I had nothing. I did maybe one shoot that I did with a photographer friend of mine, and it got me somewhere, got me maybe workshops in Adelaide modeling agencies, but nothing major.
Well, I always say, whenever you start, there's no fairy godmother that's going to give you the most beautiful looking resume ever, the most complete looking resume. It doesn't work like that. No. You have to start from the very bottom, and that in itself is a character building.
No, it is. It is. Oh my god, I was actually just because I talk to myself like a crazy person. I was having this conversation with myself.
We all do.
Night.
I run all the time.
It's crazy, but so what was it? I sort of I saw this opportunity to attend a charity photo walk with the group that is now the Australian Creative Collective.
Yeah.
So they put together these events for models and photographers alike to just sort of network and build on their portfolios while also donating to charities and special causes, which I think is absolutely incredible. So I was able to network with that, get a couple pictures for my portfolio, and then it really just sort of snowballed from there.
Yeah. And you have the confidence as well because you started to build on it.
No, absolutely. I was talking to myself about it last night, like I said, and I was just thinking about it. I was like, you know what, like, I think that probably, because I've only been, I think maybe today is probably the 1 year anniversary that I did this photo walk thing.
Wow.
So I've only been modeling for like a year today or maybe yesterday or tomorrow, I don't know, but 1 year, only 1 year. And I thought to myself, a year ago, I probably would have thought to myself like, I just sort of pictured myself in a casting or
where would you
in
be?
A questionnaire. And I'm thinking, I'd probably be that kind of person that's like, I'd like to give it a go, or I'd like to, see if I have what it takes. But I think after everything that you kind of experience in a year, or everything that I've experienced in a year, I think that it really does build a skin, a resilience. And I think to myself now, like, I know that I have a power. I know that I have a capability, a passion, and a talent, because I've gotten, as far as I've been able to.
Yeah, of course.
To do it. And nobody can take that away from me, you know what I mean? There's only people in acting, in modeling, in any other industry, if anybody else relates to this, but there are people that are going to either help you platform that and drive it with work, with connections, with whatever, or there isn't, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I can come home and say that, I have what it takes. I know that I have the passion. I know that I have the capability, the ability to do it. But a year ago, I wouldn't have thought like that. Yeah. So it's really good to see how you grow in a year,
Exactly. One of my favorite quotes that I've taken a lot of solace in, and that I've taken a lot of inspiration from, Nelson Mandela says, "It always seems impossible until it's done." It's an incredibly powerful quote, especially from what he was trying to achieve, because if people out there live under a rock and have no idea who Nelson Mandela was, obviously a freedom fighter for the South African, the minority, the black people, and the minority of people in South Africa that were being subjugated due to the apartheid. And with it was something, I know it's two completely different things, but it's the concept of it. It's, you always see something like something that seems big. Like you look at Mount Everest and you think there's no way I'm going to be able to climb that. You look at a big mountain or something like that, you think I'm never going to be able to do that. And it's just about chipping away. It's about making engaging and consistent progress. And I always say there's a big difference between change and progress. Change in itself can go multiple different ways. It can go, you can go back, you can go forward, you can go side, you can go left, you can go right. Progress is positive forward change. And that is exactly what people do when they are starting out in these types of, within these careers and with these ideas. And it just takes little baby steps, and it takes so much progress. And once again, you always get the initial response. It's that sort of intrusive thought or idea that it's impossible, but it always seems impossible until it's done. So, and look at you now, you've been working at some of those, you've been a part of some major fashion events like Lakme Australia and Australia's fashion grandeur. Incredible.
Yeah.
What was it like being a part of those?
Really, really good. I think, again, my time in Adelaide just sort of got me ready for the things that I was going to achieve, and I'm still going to achieve here as well. I think having the opportunity to walk, in my first runway with Lakme, and then, doing it with AFG, I think it's just been really, it was just such a buzzing experience. I remember they were kind of scouting or looking for male models to run the runway, and, I had to sort of put myself in that. I had to, wedge my foot through the door and push it open and say, hey, I'm here. You know what I mean? I remember there was a message saying, oh, whatever. And so I, replied, and then they didn't get back to me. And I said, okay, well, I have to find the group, the organization itself, and reach out. And then I did it, and then that worked. And then that's how I kind of got involved in that. And it was just such a good experience because I was able to do my first runway show, and I was able to sort of, do a couple different looks and, invite, people to come see and and again, networking. There were people that the big word.
It's
what it is. It's
the number one thing.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
and
you never know until you ask. I always say that thing. It's like, what's the worst that can happen? They say no, or they just don't you're not going to jail for it. You're not going to die from it.
Absolutely.
The worst is, in comparison to the best, is significantly different.
It is.
There's a big disparity. So just. You literally miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So why not just go for it?
Absolutely.
What is stopping you?
Absolutely.
There's nothing stopping you.
And again, after doing them, you sort of, the ball rolls, and you just sort of find another thing and another project. And and then doing the AFG group, I was able to, afterwards, well, I was only supposed to walk for one brand, during the AFG show. But then I kind of arrived there early, and then another brand, Wild Marigold, sent me upstairs to get fitted in a couple of their garments. Yeah. And then more stuff happened. So then afterwards, you do shoots with them, and then, these photos appear anywhere and everywhere. And then it's just again, that ball just rolls, and it's all about just taking that step to, doing the photo charity walk and getting that portfolio. Exactly. And then everything just happens. You know what I mean? So it's kind of crazy. And, again, just thinking about everything that I've achieved in a year, it's so exciting it gives me that kind of thing of what's going to happen tomorrow in the next year. And
this is the journey in your diary of your life. These are your entries. Every page is a new story. Every page is a new experience. And we are running a little bit over time on this segment here. So I will give you one question that I want to end this segment with. It is, what is a misconception about the fashion and modeling world that you'd love to set straight?
I think that a misconception is that, and I don't know, people might agree or disagree with it, but I feel like, yes, although we've moved in a positive direction in the modeling industry, I feel like we're not quite there yet. So in terms of inclusivity, 100%. I feel like a misconception is that just because now we're promoting, plus size models and diverse looks and faces. That's great, but we still have so much more work to do because I feel like the opportunity isn't there for everyone. And I mean, look, obviously, I guess it's just the way that the industry is. Not everyone can be a brain surgeon, not everyone can be a model, not everyone can be whatever. But I feel like there are enough people that can do it, but the opportunity still isn't there for them, and I'm not sure why. So I think that's the misconception that I think we have. And, we'd love to see the work,
agree.
but we got to do a lot more. So
100%. I think that's a fantastic way to end it. And I completely agree. Because there's a lot of misrepresentation as well, especially within films and TV, and a lot of people, they're not ready for that. Some people they aren't ready to see something like that, and we need to change for the better. So it is good that you are an advocate for that, and you are working to make sure that that sort of industry is a more inclusive place. So thank you. That was a fantastic first segment, and I am so looking forward to the Would You Rather. It's become a staple of the Chasing the Art. So thank you, everyone. We'll see you at Would You Rather. Thank you, everyone, for joining in for episode 3 of Chasing the Art of Creativity. Of course, now, segment 2. If you know this podcast, if you're part of the minority that do watch this, thank you, everyone out there, you would know that this is time for Would You Rather. Now, have you played a lot of Would You Rathers?
No. Yeah. I never really understood the concept, but... Oh, wait, hang on. Maybe, yeah.
Yeah,
but
so
not,
it's essentially, I give you just 2 options, and you have to choose between which one you would answer in your way. So these are all sort of just little random ones. Usually I make them topical, but today I wanted to make them a little bit quirky and unique. So are you ready to go? There's 4 here. Okay. No right or wrong answer. Don't feel embarrassed. Just have fun. All right. Would you rather always have a little bit of sauce on your face that you can't wipe off, or always have a rock in your shoe that you can't remove? We're asking the big questions today.
I think it depends on how big the rock is, but I think
I would assume when I was writing this, I was imagining it something like this big,
Yeah.
Like it's not something that's going to cause you significant pain. It's just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Both of these are like uncomfortable. They're not really like the worst things in the world, but it's like...
I'd have to go for the rock, only just because, look, I think, you walk with blisters, you walk with that, and you push through it. I'm imagining myself on a runway with a rock in my shoe. That's nothing compared to walking on a runway with sauce on your face. No way. So
that's a good point.
It's the rock.
And can you imagine all the people out there that would be like, you got sauce on your face no matter what you...
And I'm like, yeah, I'm actually...
Yeah, that's just a birthmark. It's a genetic thing.
And like, you don't go to sleep with shoes on.
No.
So...
Yeah. If you want to walk barefoot,
but I don't want to go to bed with sauce on my face. So
diplomatic answer. That's what I like to see. That's how I always prove to be diplomatic. Everyone always does at the end of the day. So, would you rather? Number 2. Would you rather have hiccups every time you try to flirt, or sneeze uncontrollably every time you try to impress someone? Either way, incredibly embarrassing. Unless
I think
you really like hiccuping every time you flirt. It's a personal choice.
I think I'd probably go for that, to be honest.
You go for the hiccups?
I think I would. Only just because sneezing, and I don't know, somebody that doesn't even look my way that sneezes is just not, Do
you have a partner or anything?
I do. Yeah. So
so you don't have to worry. I mean, if you're flirting with your partner, then I guess you're very much like...
And I think you can really play it off.
Yeah.
There's like a good way that, you have people, even when you're talking, you just, people are like...
you play it off. She's got the hiccups.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like,
you can add that
sneezing,
into your little flirt routine.
Yeah.
Sneezing's bad,
you just make me jump. You made me skip a beat, and that's why I hiccup. I don't know, but sneezing, no.
One of the Would You Rathers I actually had with our first guest, who you actually know,
Eva,
your good friend. One of ours was, I think one of the Would You Rathers was, would you rather every time you're doing a photo shoot, would you rather like be mid sneeze? And we were talking about each other, like, how ugly is it when you actually sneeze? Like, I don't know a single person out there that looks attractive when they sneeze. I'd love science to back me up on that, but it's just law of attraction, right?
Yeah. No, hiccups all the way.
Hiccups. I agree with that. I like that one. This one is great because it is topically Australian, because we're an Australian podcast. And I'm sure in spring, a lot of people have had issues with these particular menaces. Would you rather fight one horse-sized magpie or 50 regular-sized magpies all at once. You can't run away, by the way. You can't just run to the nearest shelter and just take refuge. They are pissed, and you got to fight them.
I'd probably do the one.
Have you ever been swooped by a magpie?
I haven't, but I don't want to. I don't want to be. And what do you even do in that situation? And does it hurt?
terrifying.
And do they like? I feel like sometimes like they don't actually hit you, do they? They just try to scare you by.
Oh no, they hit you. Oh yeah, they go for your eyes.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Putting sunglasses on the back of my head and putting like cable
Some
ties.
people put ice cream containers.
Yeah.
not full of ice cream, but they empty the ice cream
Yeah.
out and they put it on their heads when they go through.
Colanders or whatever.
Yeah,
Also, so then I don't get brainwashed. But just
the tin foil. Yeah, it works, right?
Sunglasses back of the head, cable tires, and then I'm taking the horse-sized magpie on. So
Okay, horses are big.
maybe it's a pony-sized. No, it's a horse-sized. All right, it's a stallion-sized.
I didn't really clarify what type of
It's
horse.
a foal size.
So it could be a foal.
Yeah.
Then again, I'm a bird person. They call me the bird man. I've got a few. You've seen the cockatoos out there. We've got a bunch of cockatoos out there that I feed every day.
Aviary.
I live in an aviary. Big on the birds. I would probably, I'd go for the horse-sized magpie because, look, who's to say you couldn't just jump on the back of it like Avatar
And
style?
fly. Yes. Are you serious?
Like, what's that?
Domesticate it.
Do you watch Harry? Harry Potter? What's that? That flying horse thing. Oh, I sound like such a boomer.
I wouldn't know, but
No, it's like a griff, not a griff.
Oh,
no,
a Gryffindor?
A Gryffindor.
Is that?
That's the house? Like that's
a griffin.
griff is no, it's a hippogriff, right?
Well, I wouldn't know, but there you go.
I'm a bloody sounds like hypocrite. I don't like it. Anyway, moving on to the fourth. Would you rather have to say, "Let's rock and roll" before doing anything serious, or have to end every sentence with, "And that's the tea, sis"?
Let's rock and roll. Let's rock and roll. I think you can again.
But what if it's a real serious thing? What if
You just say,
someone's
like-
died and you're going to the funeral and be like, "All right, let's rock and roll." I'd be
Well,
like,
you can
"Oh,
say,
that's
like-
being sensitive."
Let's rock and roll. Like, I think that you can. I think there's a way that you can do it. But what after every? So I go to a funeral. The last thing I say after my reading about them. That's the thesis.
Oh, that's
Yeah. No way. And I don't know. I'm not into that sort of language, that Gen Z stuff. Sorry, but no.
I didn't think of that.
Let's rock and roll. I think
Yeah.
you can make it cool. You can make it, rock and roll.
I can imagine like going to church or something and like saying,
Let's rock and roll.
they're
Like-
and that's the tea, sis. Everyone would be like,
Yeah.
"What are you talking about?"
No.
I once again, it's something that, look, either way, it's pretty embarrassing. What you're going to say something embarrassing, you have to really just mitigate the
You just got to
circumstance.
pick your poison.
Yeah, pick your poison. Do you want cyanide? Do you want, this other thing?
What can you play off better? What has more room to be cool, to be whatever? Like there is no way you can be like, that's the thesis. Like we're on a high stake mission. That's the thesis. No,
Yeah,
but
you're
like you can sound cool and be like, let's rock and roll. You know what I mean? Like,
good
I don't know.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you
I
just have
didn't-
to pick your poison, but really dissect it a little bit more than that.
I didn't think of that. Is there like a saying or a word that you think you say too much of? Because I was going back and editing last week's episode. I say the word 100%. I say that way too much, and I've tried to make a conscious effort today not to say 100%.
That's niche though. I think that's cool.
it?
No,
Oh,
I don't
I
know
just say
anyone
too
else that
much.
uses it. So cool.
I have said some just weird stuff over the years. I used to always say absolutely tutti frutti to everything.
Oh.
Now I now I don't, because it's just gotten so cringe.
Love
And-
that conscious effort.
Yeah. what would you say? Is there any quote?
I don't know. I actually don't know. I probably say too much all the time, or I'm very like actiony, or I'm very like
Use your hands.
Yeah, I've had like colleagues.
Talk to a hand.
I've had
My
colleagues
favorite.
say that, or even sometimes friends, like they say that they do things because I do it a lot, and they've started to do it. And I'm
Oh,
like,
the
okay.
mimic.
Yeah,
You're like Mr. Mime. Amazing.
My influence. You know what I mean?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, we now, once we're done with the Would You Rathers, we move into the game section. The like hot seat, Eddie Maguire. I've already made that joke before, so it kind of doesn't hit the second time. So have you heard of the game Tenable?
No.
So what Tenable is I give you a question with a bunch of answers, and they're all the top 10 of those answers. And what you need to do is try and guess to see if that answer is within the top 10. So it's essentially like a pyramid. You get 3 incorrect guesses.
Okay.
But if you get 3 of them right, you do win the prize.
Oh.
You do win the prize. So
No pressure.
no pressure at all. Anyway, this is today's Tenable. Copyright trademark infringement from Warwick Davis there. So he runs the show. Like, it's an actual show. It's Tenable. It's fantastic. Great show. I'd love to get on one day. Warwick, if you're listening. What are the top 10 highest grossing box office movies of all time? So are you a movie person? Big movie?
I should be. I want to say that I am, but I don't feel too confident about this one, to be honest.
What I will say, most of these films have taken place after the year 2000, and most of them in the 2010s to 2020s.
Okay.
So are there any movies that...
I've got a couple in mind.
Okay.
I'm just going to
Just think about, the big ones. Like, what would be on there?
Okay. I want to start off with Avatar. Avatar? The first one?
Avatar is number 1
Oh,
on
is
the
it?
list.
Oh my God.
Avatar grossed $2,923,706.26 in global box office. So
Okay.
obviously, it was one of the most revolutionary movies of all time. That immersive 3D experience was fucking awesome. I was 10 years old.
Animation and
Yes.
CGI.
And
or
everyone
whatever
wanted... People... like, how crazy was that? You know Pandora?
Yeah.
People were actually committing suicide because they could not go to Pandora.
Oh,
How fucked up is that?
that's a little bit.
That's dark.
Oh, yeah.
But great movie.
Trigger warning.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
What the heck?
I know. So yes, Avatar, you're correct.
Okay. I want to say I want to say this with a little more confidence.
Okay.
Avengers Endgame.
Avengers Endgame is number 2.
Oh my God,
You've got the top
okay.
2. That grossed $2,799,439,100 in global box office. Look at you. One question
Okay.
away, one answer away from the prize.
All right, and I haven't used any of my 3 mistakes yet, so
You haven't? No. You've got some...
I've got some leg room here.
You've got leg room.
I don't know the specifics of it, but I also want to say this one with a little bit of confidence.
Okay.
And maybe I'm surprising myself because maybe I know a little bit more than I thought I did.
Exactly, yeah. The confidence.
I want to say there was a Star Trek movie. I want to say New World. I don't know if that's the title of it. I want to say that it was. It has to be.
Unfortunately, Star Trek, the New World, I don't think I've ever seen either. So, unfortunately, there are no Star Treks.
Nothing. Are you serious?
Nothing.
Not on the...
No Star Treks, no. Wait, you mean Star Trek, right?
Star Trek, yeah.
No Star Treks.
No?
No. Which is it's incredible considering how popular those movies were, and to the genre of sci-fi, they're pretty important. Says you're 1. That's 1 out of 3.
So highest grossing film?
Yeah. So you've got 1, which was Avatar. 2 was Avengers Endgame.
What's 3? What's 10? What's
I'll give you a hint.
Yes, actually, yeah, please.
One of these movies that is on the list was made in the 1990s.
Oh.
And it's very popular.
Can I get the genre?
The genre, I would say... Oh, I'll give you... It's based on a true story.
In the 90s?
Yeah.
Based on a true story. Oh, I don't know. Can I get the genre?
You can get the genre. I would say it's romance. I guess you could say
hang on.
romance.
Is it Pretty Woman?
No, unfortunately, it's not Pretty Woman. Good shout, though.
What is it? What?
Well, you gotta guess.
Okay, I've got one more.
Okay.
Romance based on a true story. Can I just say Eat, Pray, Love as well?
You know what? I can give that an honorable mention. Great movie. Didn't box office, unfortunately, in the top 10.
Okay, what's a really...
I'll say... Okay, so... this is a dead set giveaway, but I would love for you to get the prize today. Obviously, I want everyone to get the prize.
Yeah,
That's the point.
I want it.
The 2 main actors in this movie were Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, hello. Of course.
Yeah,
of course. How did I not think of it? I didn't realize it grossed that big,
It
but...
was at one point.
Titanic.
Titanic. That
Oh
was.
my
In fact, that's
God.
number 4 4.
So what's 3 then?
So 3 is Avatar: The Way of Water, the sequel.
Oh, for God's sake!
5
I should have gotten 2 points for Avatar then.
Yeah, I know. When you said, I was like, do I give you another clue?
Which one? No,
Which
no.
one? So 3 was Avatar: Way of Water. 5 was Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
Really, Star Wars and not Star
Wars, yeah.
Trek? I swear.
Oh, that's what I was thinking. I was like, maybe you meant to say Star Wars.
No, it
You're
was Star
Wars
Trek. I was
person?
thinking, but yeah, I used to be, but yeah.
I love it. 6 was Avengers: Infinity War. 7 was Spider-Man: No Way Home. 8 was Jurassic World. 9 was The Lion King, the remake. And
kind of
10
had
was the
that, but-
Avengers, the original Avengers.
Oh
So
my God!
look at
See,
that,
I kind
3
of I
Avengers
had
on there.
The Lion King mine, but I wasn't sure because it was like a new movie, so I wasn't too sure. But anyway,
It's one of those. But congratulations. You have won your prize today, which I will go and get.
Thank you.
You excited? Your
Yes,
big prize?
so excited.
You love it. Get
Yes,
you the
yes,
gift.
yes.
Get it. All right. Now,
What have we got? What have we got?
I always keep my gifts in such weird places. So
Oh,
now I like to think that, you've done the acting, you've done the stage, you've done the modeling. You into music?
Not
Big music
really.
person? Well,
in primary school, I used to.
I want you to embrace the fourth art.
Oh
This
my
is yours.
God.
Show that to the
Okay.
camera. So this is it's essentially a playable keyboard that
That
plays
is-
really funky tunes, and it is great to carry around and just have fun with.
I need it. Yes.
So yeah,
absolutely.
Unfortunately, because we are a bit of a low budget here, we can't afford helicopters and Lamborghinis.
This is
but
cool though.
it's a start.
I can get crazy with this. I could maybe
get-
start a debut album with
You
this.
could. I like.
You never know. That's where that's where all the greats start.
Yeah, that's
so.
what I say. Creativity breeds ingenuity.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So cool.
That is, unfortunately, the end of the podcast. We've been going for an hour, and it didn't feel like
that flew. What
it
the heck?
flew by. And every episode I do is just, honestly, it's a privilege. And I'm so grateful that you took the time today to come out here and to just have a chat with me.
Thank
and
you
to
for
just
having me
yap
again.
away. And
Absolutely.
it has been an absolute pleasure. Now, I always ask this one question. It's become a staple of the podcast. What is one thing you're going to do today to change the world, big or small? What is something that you would want to do?
I think for me, what I want to do is to just continue to be good. I think
Be a good
we need
person.
more good in
Yes.
the world. And so I think
Yeah.
just being able to be good and just do what I want to do and just follow through with what my calling is, no matter what it is, and just being able to do that. And then hopefully that impact reflects on the rest of the world. So,
Always, and that is always true. You always leave a lasting impact. So that is a very fine answer to end a very fine recording. So, Raul, thank you so much
Thank you.
for today.
Thank
I learned
you.
a lot about you, and I'm
you.
so impressed, and I can't wait to see what your career has in store for you
sure.
out there.
Thank
And I'd
you.
also like to thank everyone out there today for listening. It doesn't matter where you are. If you're on the bus or you're at home, if you've got a drink or some snacks, just the fact that you are involved, you are part of the audience, and I couldn't be happy with that. And also, we're a big advocate for mental health on this podcast. So I just want to let everyone know that if you are feeling down or you're just not in the right headspace, please go and talk to someone. There are services out there, and just go and have a chat to friends and family. I guarantee they will always be there for you. So thank you very much today.
thank you.
I'll catch you guys next time on the next episode of Chasing the Art of Creativity. Catch you later.